Help. My wife was unfaithful with her friend and then also with A. Do you believe her or am I naive? My story is different than some others here, and, at least so far, maybe not as bad as others. But the pain and confusion I am experiencing is exactly what so many others are expressing in their posts. I'm confused and have lost all perspective. I don't know what to think anymore. Backstory: I am the husband of 40 years old and my wife is also 40 years old, married since our first 30 years. 2 grade school kids. Marriage has been great. Wife deals with depression and related emotional health issues, but it's always been managed. A few years ago, however, the meds stopped working, she fell into a dark place, gained a lot of weight that made her even more unhappy, and was generally in that vacant depressed state for a couple years. It was rough. But about a year ago, a new med combo and commitment to health helped her turn around, get back to her old vibrant personality, and lose the weight. So for the past year, things have been great, maybe even better than ever. She is very affectionate and fun, and yes, relationships are great too. No complaints. How I found out: my POV wife recently went out of state to visit family. She always stays in an unoccupied guest house owned by a relative. This is not uncommon and I've never had any reason to question her activities. Friday night she goes to dinner with a friend, Kathy, that she hasn't seen for 10 years. 2 hours later she texts me that she is home and going to bed. Not unusual. Saturday night after dinner she texts saying that she is again tired and turning in early. Sunday morning she sends me a short provocative video, a close-up of her touching herself, along with hearts and "I miss you" texts. This is not unusual. However, I noticed the location stamp on the video shows it was made at a hotel nowhere near the house she's staying at. I sit on this info for a couple hours until I know she's back at the house and can talk. I ask if she's been staying at the house. She says yes, lie. I ask if she's been staying at a hotel. She says no, lie. I tell her about the location stamp. She says that hotel is near where she had dinner the other night, so maybe somehow her phone thinks she's still at that location, lie. At this point, I'm not angry or accusing, but I know something is up. After a moment she admits that she lied and has something to tell me, but that, it's not that bad, her exact words. Classic minimizing. I tell her I want to know every detail. She tells me this story. Wife's story for incident number 1, she met her old friend, a woman named Kathy, for dinner at a nice restaurant at a downtown hotel. Over dinner, Kathy has many drinks and may have even showed up on Drew asterisk or something, and my wife has 3 glasses of wine. Note, wife is an infrequent drinker and a lightweight who gets drunk on half a cocktail. They talk. Kathy is in a bad marriage and afraid of her abusive husband. Kathy is nervous to go home tonight. It's now 10 p.m., the restaurant is closing. My wife realizes that Kathy doesn't have much money, so my wife pays for dinner and drinks. At this point my wife texts me saying she's home and going to bed, a lie. My wife knows she is too drunk to drive and is worried for her friend, so she books a hotel room at the hotel for Friday and Saturday night. They go up to the room. They talk for a couple more hours about many things. My wife brings up the topic of doing things with other women. Note, I know my wife has done some sexual experimenting with women on a couple occasions prior to our marriage, no big deal. Wife and Kathy share their past experiences. Kathy asks if she can kiss my wife. My wife says yes, expecting just a short peck, but Kathy sticks her tongue in my mouth, and they tongue kiss, with my wife's arms around Kathy, Kathy's arms around my wife clutching her body. After about 5 minutes my wife pulls away saying that it doesn't feel right and that they shouldn't do this. Kathy agrees. They get in the king bed together, clothes on, and talk a couple more hours until falling asleep. Of the kiss, my wife says that she liked it, but not in a sexual way, and she was just caught up in the moment. Saturday morning my wife calls me but doesn't tell me what happened because she's ashamed and embarrassed. Saturday my wife visits her family, that's true. After dinner Saturday, wife texts that she is tired and going to bed early, another lie. Instead, she goes back to the hotel. But she told Kathy that they can't be physical. They talk all night again and sleep together in the double bed with pajamas on, no physical stuff. Sunday morning, my wife sends me affectionate texts and a 10-second video of her touching herself. My wife explained that she had to take the video quick while Kathy was in the bathroom and that's why it was short. They check out of the hotel Sunday morning. A couple hours later we talk. Wife tells me that her friend Kathy is not someone she wants to be friends with anymore because Kathy is not the person she used to be and she feels uncomfortable continuing to be friends with her. This is when I talk to my wife about the location stamp of the video at the hotel and she goes through the lies I laid out above, until finally confessing. She cancels the rest of her trip and books the next plane home. Questions about incident number 1. Would you believe my wife's story? I have questions. If she really was too drunk to drive and just innocently worried about her friend, then why lie at all? Instead of lying, just tell me that you are too drunk and worried about your friend so you're going to get a room for the night. What is there to hide at that point? If the hotel was for the friend's safety, then why go back to spend the night Saturday night? It's a lot of lies, denial, and minimizing to cover up something that otherwise wouldn't be that big of a deal. It's the lies that hurt more than the actual event, assuming my wife's version of events is true. And I might have believed her story, until incident number 2, my wife gets home Monday. We talk. I tell her it's hard for me to accept her story. I lay out my questions and her answers boil down to, it was easier to lie than to explain, I just got caught up in the moment, I don't know why I lied, it was a ridiculous mistake. She does seem remorseful. I tell her the lies hurt more than the actual events, and that I'm bothered by the fact that I only found out because I caught her, so I'm assuming this isn't the only indecent. She swears she has told the whole truth about the weekend and that there have been no other past incidents. I don't let it go. I just keep calmly pressing her to reveal any other secrets she's holding on to. Over and over she keeps saying there is nothing more to tell. And it turns out each denial was another lie because, of course, there was more. After a long awkward silence, she tells me this story. Wife's story for incident number 2, she starts the story, just so you know, this was just a small ridiculous thing, again minimizing. Earlier this year, June, when she was again out of town on vacation visiting family, she was alone in her room. She gets a message from Tom, an old high school friend, who lives many states away from where she was at the time. Tom compliments a post noting how great she is looking. They chat about old days and eventually start flirting over text. It's just one of those things that happened, no one really started it. Both indulged themselves while chatting very hot. No phone call, no pictures or video exchanged. The next day, she reaches out to him again, just to talk, but he tells her he regrets chatting with her behind his wife's back and blocks her. She knows it was wrong, and doesn't want to tell me because she worries I'll be upset, so she's been carrying this lie around for 3 months wondering if and how to tell me. Where I am now, again, the lies hurt worse than the actual events. She again swears that these 2 events are everything. Swears there is nothing else. For her part, for the past 2 days she's apologized profusely, repeatedly acknowledged that trust has been broken, has been extremely communicative about everything she is doing, where she's going, who she's talking to, what she's looking at online. She has offered to turn on location tracking on her phone so I can see where she is at all times, which I declined. And we've had relationships Tuesday morning and this morning, Wednesday, since she came back home. Part of me wants to believe her and just move on rebuilding the trust that was broken by the lies. Another part of me screams, you idiot. There's clearly more he's not telling you. And his behavior makes it clear that, given the chance, he will do more things in the future. Even if I wanted to believe his version of events, at this point there is no way I can believe that there is no more to tell. I'd be a fool to believe her. She's operating right out of the cheater's handbook. She denied both events. Then when she admitted they happened, she downplayed them. Now I believe I'm just being fed a trickle truth of a couple not so bad events. I've lost perspective on how believable her version of events are. Just looking for an outside perspective from people who might understand. TLDR, wife lied to cover up making out, and maybe more, with another woman, and lied to cover up a sexting with another man. She swears that's all that has happened, but I only found out because I caught her. Can I trust her version of events? Edit, I appreciate all the replies. Thank you all for the outside perspective. Update in comments below. Comments. Oh man, how many times have we heard the line, we started to make out or fool around, but then I got uncomfortable and stopped. And then she went back for more the next night. Aha, do yourself a favor. You're never going to know the full truth of it, but you already know she not only cheated, but is trickle-truthing you. That's not the behavior of someone who truly wants to reconcile. And that means she'll do it again when the opportunity arises. Cut your losses and leave now. You're going to save yourself a lot of fighting and sadness. Not that it'll be easy to get over your marriage, but the sooner you start the sooner you'll be over it. Going through the downward spiral for weeks/months/years is throwing good time after bad. You can be using this time healing and recovering, and then getting on with your life. 1. I would dig around the time she became depressed. I would almost bet there is another incident there, maybe her first act of infidelity. OP, you know, for the depressed stretch, which had overlapped with the COVID times, my gut says she actually wasn't seeing anyone then due to my knowledge of our living situation and some other personal details. But this year? Oh boy. The gates were open. There's so much she's done behind my back in such a short time that I'm actually impressed she was able to pull it all off. 2. Tell your wife you made an appointment at the polygraph. If there are things in her story that need fixing, now is the time. If she doesn't come out clean from the polygraph, you'll continue with the lawyer. Kathy can go with Tom or anyone else. OP, I actually did look up polygraph operators in my area. She's been trickle through than me for days. I actually felt like I was getting to a place where I had finally heard the true versions of many incidents, but there were still a few details here or there I didn't add up. The polygraph was one of the last things I brought up, and that's the point at which she finally filled in all those last missing details. 3. Yup, she's lying. I've been there. Cheaters will construct any number of implausible lies to cover their tracks. Your problem is that you have no actual proof. You could have her followed or electronically monitored, but that might be difficult now that she knows you're onto her. The bottom line though, is you can no longer trust her. She will cheat and lie to your face about it. I can't tell you what to do. All I can tell you is that this situation is eerily similar to my own, which led to literally years of rug sweeping, marriage counseling, and blame shifting, all of which led to eventual divorce. If it was me, I would be visiting a divorce attorney. OP, divorce attorney visited. The thing is, when I called her out on her nonsense stories, she would then tell a new version of that incident that was also a lie. And when I pointed out issues with that story, then she would tell a third version of the incident. Every single time there was always some issue or detail about the story of an incident that just didn't make sense to me. And every time it meant that wasn't the real story. The funny part is I feel like I can tell in my gut when I finally got an accurate version of an incident. Because it would make perfect sense. And, of course, be just part of an absolutely massively larger betrayal. Update. Am I allowed to lie now for my benefit? My wife of many years went on a rampant cheating spree this year that I know of, and Lord knows what else happened prior that I don't know about. I'm in contact with a divorce attorney and preparing for divorce. In the meantime, we are still living together with our 2 kids. My wife is desperate to reconcile, seemingly at least for now. She is going over the top to show regret and kindness toward me, reading books about how to support your spouse after cheating, literally groveling at my feet and doing anything I ask. I know this is not sustainable, but I gotta admit it's nice for the moment. So here's what I want to do. I want to lie and tell her that I would like to reconcile, when really I'm just buying myself time to get ready for the divorce. The way I see it, this lie gets me the following. 1. I control the narrative. I control the timeline. Insofar as there's any control left for me to have after what happened. We split when I say we split. This will also give me time to continue to process what happened and get closure I'm not sure I'd get if we just split immediately. 2. I get time to prepare assets for divorce. I can organize my things, under the guise of cleaning. I can establish new bank accounts for myself, that I won't tell her about. I can secure a place to live. Etc. So that when the paperwork drops, I'm ready to go. 3. And yes, there's a vengeful part of me that hopes she really does want to reconcile and will be hurt when she is served and finds out that it isn't going to happen. But this would just be a bonus on top of the above benefits. I know two wrongs don't make a right, but I don't see how this lie is anything but good for me. A voice in my head says, if you lie, then you are no better than her, but to that I say, after what she did, I have no duty to be better than her. I owe her nothing. So, should I lie for my benefit? Comments. You don't have to lie. If you lower yourself to the level of your abuser, you lose in life as you become a willing participant in the cycle of abuse. You don't have to disclose anything to the person you're intending on divorce. Simply tell her the truth. You need time to process things. You don't have to inform her of your intentions, because you're indeed processing things, in your favor, not hers. But that is none of her business at this point. She has clearly made herself not worth your trust and respect. Both trust and respect are earned, not granted. And you don't have to grant her either at this point, so no need to lie. You simply don't have to disclose her anything you're intending to do regarding your best interest, because she doesn't have your trust. 1. Do what you need to heal. Whatever it takes. It's called surviving infidelity for a reason. Don't get over the infidelity. The enemy is literally the closest person you know, and that person hurt the spouse you met through cheating. There is no holding on when it comes to survival. Do what you have to do. 2. First of all, this side of her where she shows full-fledged remorse and wants to reconcile will be just short-lived. As soon as she sees what she really would have to do to reconcile, years and years of work, she will lose patience and be back at her affairs. And yes, you are allowed to lie, she started that war. Finish it. This wasn't a one-night stand. That woman is a disgusting, lying, deceiving person. Blindside her as she blindsided you. It won't heal you, but it will feel a little good. This is no Disney movie, just ducking. Protect yourself under all costs. Did she ever say why? 3. What you are planning on doing is common sense, and you don't have to phrase it in such a negative way. The person that made the most sacred promise that one person can make to another has been for months doing the most despicable things she could possibly do to you. When caught, she repeatedly lied to you and swore numerous times she was telling the truth. Now you are divorcing this person, where not only are you going to be contractually required to give her large sums of your money, but you are also going to need to protect your children and not allow her to use them as pawns. I would definitely tell her reconciliation is an option, and if you feel guilty, tell her you think the odds of it working are low. Talk to your lawyer, and if you need to buy time, and get your affairs in order. You don't have to do any of the heavy lifting of the reconciliation. Put it all on her until you're ready to serve her with divorce papers. 4. You are allowed to do what you have to. She's no longer your wife and partner, but your enemy, now that you're going legal on her body. As part of the reconciliation process, I would use any information you can get out of her to bolster your case against her, i.e., I would ask her to provide you a full timeline, including names of the guys and places, etc., and send the details to your lawyer. Let her do the legwork in hanging herself out to dry.